Hey, Courtney Smith here, and I want to talk about what does it take to be a pro trader. So let me give a quick overview of what does it take to be a pro trader, and I'm going to do some other videos where I take each section of this video and expand it and give you more details. But let's just use this as a quick overview of what it takes to be a pro trader. The four things that you need are to have profitable techniques, a correct risk management, the correct psychology, and you also need an adequate bankroll. The first one is that you need profitable techniques. When I say get proven techniques, what I mean is you need to have techniques that have been tested. Now, the only way you can have techniques that you can test is to have techniques that have rules. In other words, they're not subjective techniques like Elliott wave or chart analysis, but they're more systematic. And I think that for most people, that kind of systematic trading is the better way to do it. Some people can use things like Elliott wave and chart analysis successfully, but it's hard to prove that they work without actually going and investing for years. We don't really want to take that kind of a risk. So it's better to have a technique that you can go back, get the rules, test it over the past, and see if it works. In addition, I like to battle test everything, and by that I mean actually trading in the real world. Now, that doesn't mean you have to put a lot of money down to test these things. You can always open things like micro accounts and trade CFDs or mini futures or whatever in order to test them. The second thing is don't listen to gurus, including myself. Yes, I do publish a newsletter, and I think I give good advice, and certainly the track record is spectacular, but the best thing to be a pro trader is to actually do these things yourself. Don't trust it when someone says, hey, this technique works. Go and take the technique that's being taught to you by the guru and then test it. In other words, get proof that it works. The second thing we need is we need to have strict risk management. In fact, this is the second most important thing. It's more important than having profitable techniques. We need to keep our losses very, very low. We need to limit our risks to 1% of our portfolio size or even less, particularly when we're first starting out and maybe we don't really have the confidence or the discipline that we need for trading. So as we learn, we need to make sure that our losses are very, very small. Big losses will put us out of business. They can either psychologically put us out of business or financially put us out of business. In either case, we're a loser and can no longer be a pro trader. Remember that a 50% loss means you need to make 100% to break even, and it's hard to make 100%, so we never want to put ourselves deep in the hole. So keep losses very, very low. I suggest starting out at 1% of your portfolio per trade to start out with, and later, as you get confidence and understand the risk and reward of your various techniques, then you can boost it to a higher level. The final thing we need, the third thing we need is the correct psychology. We must have discipline. It's not the kind of discipline that a Marine has carrying a 60-pound pack while running into oncoming bullets. That's extraordinary discipline. No, we just need the kind of discipline of taking out the garbage or washing the dishes, that kind of discipline, which is no big deal. Yet most traders don't even have that level of discipline. But we have to have that kind of discipline. And the reason is because we need to take our profitable technique and execute flawlessly. If we don't execute flawlessly, then we'll never know if the profitable technique is a good technique or not because we're overriding the signals. So we have to have discipline to execute flawlessly. We also must be focused on making money. I know a lot of people say, well, of course we're here to make money. But the reality is that nearly everybody has more than one reason for trading. Making money may be one of them, but excitement, solving a problem, these are other types of motivations for people to trade. So make sure, go really think deeply about what's motivating you. Just make sure that one of them is making money. Another consideration that's very rarely spoken about is that trading for a living is more stressful than trading to make money. If I have a job and I'm going to get a paycheck in 2 weeks, then that's trading to make money. And I don't have a lot of stress because I know I'm going to make my mortgage, I'm going to eat, my car is going to be paid for. And so that is less stressful than if I have to only eat what I kill. So trading for a living means I have to make money this month to pay my mortgage, my car, my food, my kids' education. That's a lot more stressful. So I suggest for most people who want to be a pro trader, keep your full-time job for now, or if you're more confident, take a part-time job that pays you enough to pay for your ordinary living expenses, and that way you don't have to trade for your mortgage. You can trade to build your equity and your wealth. Now, the final thing is we have to have an adequate bankroll. So the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, how much money is enough to make a living? How much money do you need? Do you need $50,000 a year? $100,000 a year? What are your returns going to be? So then you're going to take those returns and you're going to cut those returns in half just to be safe. You can't assume that what you think you're going to make is what you're going to make. Even if you made 100% a year for the last 3 years, once you're a full-time trader, the extra stress will probably cause you to not make as much money. So even if you're a successful trader, you should assume that initially you're going to do worse. Now, it's possible that the extra stress may cause you to focus better and make more money, but most people, the stress causes them to not do as well. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say you use the techniques that we teach at the Investment Mentoring Institute and you expect to make 100% return. So let's first off cut that in half and assume 50%, which is really an awesome return as well. Let's say we need $100,000 to live and prosper on, and therefore we need $200,000 of initial capital. But we also want to build our bankroll and become wealthy over time. So we really don't want to start with $200,000. We want to start with, say, $300,000. So now we have our 50% return. That gives us 50% of $300,000 in capital gives us $150,000 in profit. So we take out the $100,000 to live on, and that means we can add $50,000 to our portfolio. Now we've got $350,000. So the next year we'll make $175,000, live on $100,000, and add $75,000 to the portfolio, and so on and so forth. So we're paying for our living expenses, but we're also adding to our capital, which is adding to our wealth. So it's always good to actually have more money than you need rather than less. The bottom line is that it's hard for most people to become pro traders. Discipline seems to be the downfall of most people. Sometimes the size of the bankroll is too small, and so they take too big of risks. But the rewards of being a pro trader are very, very high. This is one area where you could build incredible wealth. People have become billionaires, 100 millionaires, etc., trading. I know lots of people now who are professional traders and wouldn't trade it for anything. One of the reasons, of course, is lifestyle. I trade most of the time from beach resorts. All I need is some type of internet connection and I'm ready to go. So far this year, I've traded from the United States, Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Singapore, Indonesia, Bali. I know Bali's part of Indonesia, but anyway, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Taiwan. I have a great lifestyle. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I can't imagine any other better way of living other than inheriting a lot of money. So the bottom line is, hard to be a pro trader. There is risk involved in it, but the potential rewards are very, very high. I'm just going to throw a little commercial up on here. These are things hopefully you'll take a look at, and hopefully we'll see you involved in one of our projects here on the screen.